Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to learn again the basics of an ideal transformer. So in the previous videos, we have learned about these things like Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction we have got to know, and we have learned this one. We got to know what is Lenz's law and both how Faraday's and Lenz's law are interlinked to each other, and a simple concept called dot convention, which is nothing but if a dot is represented by plus on one of the uh, side of a transformer, then if there is a dot on the other side, then it also indicates the plus symbol. This is nothing but your dot convention. And we have seen how the electrical energy is being transferred through magnetic field in our lecture number 2. Now in this lecture number 3, we are going to study about the this EMF equation. We are going to study about the EMF equation of ideal transformer and turns ratio. Why only ideal transformer? In the sense, for avoiding complexity in understanding the equations, we are going to learn by means of an ideal transformer. So let us start with the EMF equation. For simplicity purpose, as I said, assume ideal transformer. Ideal transformer, in the sense, it is nothing but whatever the windings we are having on the transformer, that winding will definitely be a copper wire, and the copper wire has no resistance, which means lossless winding. Assume that, which means I square R loss is very less or almost zero. So lossless winding is one factor we need to consider when one is saying that it is a ideal transformer. The second important thing is no core loss. As we are wounding the copper wires on some particular magnetic material which is called core, it has also no losses, means which it is also in ideal condition, and no leakage flux. Whatever the flux that is been there in the transformer is only flowing through the core but not outside the area of the core. So that means your leakage flux. And the fourth important point is infinite permeability. So permeability of the core is also considered to be infinite. So these are the four factors one need to remember when you are saying that is an ideal transformer. So these are the four factors. Those are lossless windings, no core loss, no leakage flux, and infinite permeability. So this is the ideal transformer that we are considering, which has windings like N1, N2. Assume that N1 has more number of turns than N2, so N1 is greater than N2. And we are considering a flux phi has been flowing through this core, and the flux phi has a nature of sinusoidal as shown in this particular graph. Like it is a sinusoidally varying flux is flowing through the core of this transformer. As this is an ideal transformer, so I am considering some flux has been flowing through it. Now according to the Faraday's law, time varying flux is been linking with the coil, so definitely EMF gets induced. So E1, let us assume E1 is inducing here and E2 is inducing here. So now it's time to decide the polarity of E1 and E2. For suppose if we need to assume the polarity of E1 and E2, we need to make some assumptions like there is a load connected, because when only load connects, then only the current flows. If the current flows, then only we can say that it has some opposing force to the previous flux. So in order to make assume, now I am assuming that this circuit is closed by means of some load. So now I need to draw the current direction in it. So the current direction should be such that it should oppose the cause. This is according to the Lenz law. So the flux which is causing the EMF induction is this one, which is in the upward direction. When you cross check with this N1 turns, it is in the upward direction. So your thumb should be now directed towards downward such that it is in the opposite direction to this main flux. So if you place your thumb direction like this, then your curl will represent in this way. Your curl will represent this way, so that will be your current direction. So as this is the current direction, now the current will be coming out of the this particular terminal. So if my load is here and so it is entering into the load and leaving from this particular point. So I will always consider entering point as positive and the leaving point as negative. This is the hypothetical current flowing through this winding. It is not the actual current because there is no load connected here. You are just assuming. So this is not the actual current, but it is a hypothetical current. And similarly here, if you connect a load by assuming something here, so the main flux which is directed is in this way. So your thumb should be in opposition to this one, so it should be something like this. So if that is the case, then your curl direction will represent something like this, like this way. So according to me, this terminal will act as plus and this terminal will act as minus. So this is what how you can uh, identify the polarity of the induced EMF when we assume some load has been connected through those points. Now, there is nothing like primary winding and the secondary winding in the transformer. Whenever a manufacturer manufactures a transformer, he won't decide this is primary and this is secondary. Instead, he will just specify HV side and LV side. He just mentions HV side and LV side, but he doesn't mention this is primary and this is secondary. Primary and the secondary can be decided by the end user. For suppose if I have to say a transformer is designed like 220 420, 440 kV to 220 kV. It is it depends on totally end user whether he want to use this as a step up transformer or a step down transformer. uh, any transformer can be utilized in both ways, like it can be act as step up transformer and step down transformer at different times. Means this same transformer, if you consider primary as 220 volt side, that is the LV side as your primary, then uh, then it acts as a step up transformer. If you consider HV side as your primary, then it acts as a step down transformer. So it totally depends on the end user how he wants to use that manufactured transformer. So that is what, if you connect source to HV side, source is connected to HV side, then it will be decided as a primary one. And where load will be connected, that is in generally treated as secondary winding. So always the manufacturer won't tell primary and secondary, but instead he will use HV side and LV side. These two terms are used by the manufacturers. So this is some extra related concept. So coming to our EMF equation, assume that let phi is equals to phi m sin omega t, which in the sense this particular phi is equals to phi m sin omega t is at t naught. I mean at t naught, the maximum value of the phi is phi m. That is what I have written in this equation. Now, as I said, it is a time varying flux. Now, if I consider it total cycle as a 20 milliseconds, so total time period is equals to 20 milliseconds I am getting. So we know that frequency is equals to 1 upon time or inverse of time. So 1 upon 20 into 10 power minus 3, which will come to frequency value as 50 Hz. So which means whatever this flux, time varying flux is there, it is changing 50 times in 1 second of time. So this is what you need to remember. So this flux first in the first half cycle, the flux is directed in this way. In the second half cycle, the flux is directed in this way. Therefore, the polarity of the induced EMF also changes according to this changes. So that's what we need to remember. So let phi is equals to phi m sin omega t at some particular instant at t naught. Now, according to the Faraday's law, we can write like E2 is equals to N2 d phi by dt. Better to take phasor values. So E2 is equals to N2 d phi by dt. We know that phi is nothing but phi m sin omega t. So I can write like N2 d by dt of phi m sin omega t. Here I have considered plus because I always goes in accordance with the Lenz's law. So that is why my polarity is plus here. Similar from this, E2 phasor is equals to N2 phi m omega into cos omega t, from which I can write like E2 is equals to N2 phi m. Both cosine and sine terms or sine waveforms are same, except there will be a delay in the cos one. So I can write cos omega t as sine of omega t plus 90 degrees. Omega t plus 90 degrees. So let this be equation A. Similarly, I can write for E1 also. E1 phasor is equals to N1 d phi upon dt. The change of flux is same for both N1 and N2 terms, as you can see in this diagram. So again N1, so this will result in N1 phi m sin omega t plus 90 degrees. This be equation B. So from equation A and equation B, uh, you can see that phase E1 phasor as well as E2 phasor both are in the same phase. Same phase in the sense here the angle is omega t plus 90 degree. Here also the angle is omega t plus 90 degrees. So both the both the E1 and E2 induced EMF phasors are in the same phase and they should be in the same phase because here N1 and N2 are constant terms and constant terms cannot be changed, and constant terms can't change the phase, can't create a phase difference between the two equalities. So as these are two constants N2 phi m and N1 phi m, they cannot create a phase difference. So therefore E1 and E2 are in the same phase. We will find E2 RMS value. So for sine wave RMS value is given by maximum value upon root 2. This is for sine wave. So as we consider sinusoidally varying flux, so E2 RMS value will be equal to E2 maximum value upon root 2, and E2 maximum value is nothing but N2 phi m into omega by root 2. Here you can see in general the sine wave representation would be like Vm sine omega t if you consider some any sinusoidal voltage. So this Vm is nothing but whatever the coefficients here are there, though that is nothing but the maximum value of that particular waveform. So here those coefficients are N2 phi m and omega when we consider E2. So similarly we can calculate so before calculating E1 RMS value, let us simplify E2 RMS value. So E2 RMS value is equals to N2 into phi m into omega can be written as 2 pi into f. That is we are considering here it is in radians. Now we are considering into frequency. So it is like this, something like this. Now similarly, if you want to write for E1 also, you can write similarly in the same way. So better if you simplify further, it would be easy. Rationalize with the root 2 by root 2. So finally we will be getting something like E2 RMS is equals to under root 2 pi f into phi m into n2. So also for E1 RMS we will get same thing, except the turns change variable will be there, that is root 2 phi f frequency maximum flux into number of turns, that is n1. So these are the two induced EMF RMF values at primary side, that is in at the n1 in n1 turns and n2 turns. So these are the two equations we got, that is the RMS value. Now if we divide these two equations like E1 RMS value upon E2 RMS value, we will be getting like root 2 pi f phi m into n1 upon root 2 pi f phi m into these all the constants will be get cancelled each other. So finally we have E1 by E2 is equals to, of course they are RMS values, is equals to n1 by n2. So this is in some textbooks it is also made equal to A. So this is what we can call it as turns ratio. So this is nothing but your turns ratio. In some textbooks it will be written like this also, like E2 upon E1 is equals to N2 upon N1. Now this would be equal to some K, constant K, and it is referred as transformer ratio. So both the things whatever there, that is transformer ratio and turns ratio, are same, but there is only one difference, like uh, here A is nothing but 1 by K, and K here K is nothing but 1 by A. So those are the two things. Of course, if you observe very keenly, these are nothing but mathematical manipulation. Just to do cross multiplication here, you will get this one. If you do cross multiplication here, you can find this one also. So there is nothing much to confuse in these two terms like A and K. One is, if one has a better clear concept about turns ratio and the transformer ratio, then it would be very easier for us to calculate anything. So this is what turns ratio and transformer ratio means. Finally, in general, if I need to write the transformer EMF equation, I can write like E is equals to root 2 pi f into maximum flux phi m into number of turns. So this is your EMF equation. You can further simplify this, that is there is root 2 value which has 1.414 into 3.14, which is nothing but your pi value, and consider some 50 or 60 hertz, any one of these depending upon the numerical values given in the problem. So in some textbooks this will be finalized, and it will be something like 4.44 f pi m and 1 ton. So this term also you can able to see in some textbooks. So better to follow this one as I have written here. So this is how this is what the final EMF equation of a ideal transformer. So from this equation I can derive one more thing, like E by N is equals to under root 2 into pi into F into phi m, which is nothing but E by N is nothing but EMF per turn. So this is nothing but EMF per turn. So if I consider this is a primary side, I will write suffix as 1 and 1 here. Or similarly, if I write for on the secondary side, those will those two will be equal, because these two terms are constants for both the sides. So EMF per turn, the most important thing you need to remember here is very important thing, that is EMF per turn must be same for common flux. Here the common flux is nothing but those that common mutual flux. As I have earlier drawn one diagram, in that on the both the sides, whatever the flux main flux linking is there, that flux was common. So till the flux, this flux phi m is constant in the whole transformer, this EMF per turn value on the primary side, on the secondary side will be equal. EMF per turn, if I have to tell you or to explain you, it is nothing but the amount of voltage induced in one turn of the coil is nothing but EMF per turn. So this is about the very important thing. This is very basic thing we need to remember. We should not forget this at any point of time when we are learning transformer. That is EMF per turn must be same for common mutual flux. Let's talk about the MMF balance in a transformer. So this is the ideal transformer we have considered earlier, and even polarity has been indicated as I have explained in the earlier part of this video. Now let us assume like some load has been connected here. This is the load, and there is a switch in both in between them like this. So whenever you close this switch, then current I2 starts coming out of the this terminal and will enter into the load. So that is why I have taken plus here and minus here. So the current direction is in this way, and it is I2 as it on the secondary side. So now what happening here is, this is the N1 turn and N2 turn. Assume that N1 is greater than N2. Now for MMF balance, MMF is nothing but the number of turns into the current flowing through those turns. So MMF for MMF balance, N1 I1 should be equal to N2 I2. For satisfying this MMF balance, this condition should be satisfied. So for satisfying this condition, as there is a current flow in the secondary of the windings, due to the current flowing through these windings, there will be a flux will be developed here. The flux, whatever the flux will be there, if you assume by right hand curl rule, what happens is, place your curl according to the current direction. Your thumb displays the north field. So the flux direction would be directed upwards. This is assume like this is phi 2, which is in opposite direction to this flux. So whenever this switch will be closed and load is connected to this winding, definitely a flux develops in this, and this developed flux will be in opposition to the original flux. So assume like some, as it is in the opposite position, there is a development of another flux like this, which has a magnitude of, this is nothing but phi 2, which is proportional to N2 I2, because this flux is responsible because of the current flowing through the N2 turns. So we generally say in transformer the flux remains constant, but here you can see there is an adding subtraction of the flux is happening at one particular point of time. So uh, so this is not very true. So what happens is, the there is a opposition force to this particular flux. So subtraction of main flux is taking place here, because suppose if this green color waveform has a magnitude of 10 and this is of 5, then the resultant of both these two waveforms will be 5, because this is in the opposite, the pink color waveform is in the opposite direction to the green color one. So there is a subtraction is happening between the fluxes. Actually, the flux lines won't cross each other. This is just for the understanding purpose. So there is a reduction in the flux here. So that is why uh, reduction in the flux. So what the transformer does is, as here if it is connected to the load means, then definitely it has connected to some load here. So assume some load has been source it has been connected to. So let the source be V1, and from load it will draw the additional current required to what? Required to compensate the MMF loss that has occurred in the core due to the current flowing in the secondary winding. Due to the current flowing through the secondary winding, an additional flux is being created, that is nothing but phi 2, which is in opposition to the flux phi. So therefore you can see the reduction in this flux phi. So whatever the reduction has happened, that reduction will be compensated by this I1 current, because this I1 current now starts flowing through the N1 turn, and it will create an flux which is in opposition to the main flux again. Now here it is opposite, so therefore whatever the compensation that has to be provided, that will be provided by this I1 turn. Now something like this it would be looking. So this is phi 1, which is directly proportional to N1 and I1. So what happens is, at the final stage, these two fluxes, additional fluxes which are created due to connecting load phi 1 and phi 2, get cancelled each other, and only the flux which has remained earlier case, that only remains in the transformer. So in this way MMF balance will be created and it will be maintained in any transformer that has been in the working stage. So in but suppose if this has indicated as dot here, then the other side, the plus terminal, will be indicated as dot. Now if you observe here, the current I1 is entering into the dot terminal. From the dot terminal, now the current has to be leave. This is the main important thing we need to remember. If current enters into dot, then other side current must leave from current must leave from dot. This should be the compulsory case, because if this case is happening in the transformer means, then only the MMF balance will be satisfied. If this case is not following means, then MMF balance won't be there in that particular transformer, and we say that transformer is not working properly. So this particular statement is nothing but subtractive polarity, that is magnetic subtractive polarity. So we say that transformers works on the principle, or not principle, it works on the basis of magnetic subtractive polarity. Whatever the electrical energy that has been required, that is been required for the load, will be dragged from the magnetic energy present in the core, and whatever the reduction that has been appeared in the core of magnetic energy, that will be supplied by the source by means of I1 current. This I1 current enter into the core uh, by the help of this N1 turns, and it will create a flux which is phi 1, and this flux phi 1 will compensate the loss that has been occurred due to connecting the load. I hope you understood clearly. If you have any doubt, rewind the video and watch it once again. I hope you will definitely understand what I'm trying to explain. From the MMF balance equations, we can deduce one more formula, like we have MMF balance as I1 I1 N1 is equals to N2 I2. Always take phasor values. So from this I can write like I2 phasor is equals to N1 upon N2 I1. In the earlier case, I mean in the turns ratio expression, I have said like now from this I1 is equals to I2 by A. I can write this final conclusion from turns ratio where A is nothing but N1 by N2. So this is what I can write, or simply if I need to write A in terms of this particular thing, so A is equals to N1 by N2, which is equals to I2 by I1. I can write in this way also. It's just mathematical manipulation one needs to understand. So as I have said from the earlier case, it is an ideal transformer. So whatever the voltage present here, that will be equal to the E1, because whatever the wires which are used in between has no resistance. So voltage drop is 0. So V1 will be equal to E2. So final conclusion we can write like V1 by V2 is equals to E1 by E2 is equals to N1 by N2 equal to I2 by I1, which is finally equal to A. So this is the very important conclusion we need to remember. You can tell it as a trans ratio or transformer ratio depending upon how you are managing the mathematical things. And most of the students, I guess, will be confusing between these two currents. Here I have written I1 is I1 direction, I1 direction is in this direction, and the current due to the induced EMF when I assume the load is in this direction. Both these currents are opposite in direction. In the earlier part of the video itself, I have said that whatever the current that you are assuming, I mean that you are drawing assuming the load connection are just the hypothetical currents. These are the hypothetical currents. This has nothing to do with the current that is been drawing from the source. So these are the hypothetical currents. Don't There is no need of confusion between I1 current direction and the hypothetical current. So this is about the EMF equation and the turns ratio of an ideal transformer. In the next video, we'll try to understand the phasor diagrams of ideal transformer and equivalent model of practical transformer also. So from the next, so till up to this video, the basics of the transformers have been completed. So from the later part of the upcoming videos, so we will be doing some derivations, numericals, etc., such that our concepts becomes much stronger. So that's all for this video, guys. If you didn't subscribe yet, please hit that subscribe channel button. This is Kalyan. That's it for this video, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, friends.